Ben here, back out of the sawmill. Today I'm going to just take you and walk you around, show you a little bit of what I got out here in the yard. Now to start off with, first thing here is the sawdust. That's a pretty good amount of sawdust, don't you think? One of the questions I had was, what are you going to do with all your sawdust? And to be honest with you, I have no idea. A lot of the sawdust is from planing wood. You know, we ran probably 20-30 boards through the planer, and the wood that you get out of the planer, the sawdust it's nice stuff. I mean, this should be used for like an animal pen, maybe horses or cows or, you know, chickens or something along those lines. But then the stuff from the sawmill is more like sand. You know, it's real dense and it's wet. One of the comments I got that I like about this stuff is, you know, maybe you could use this to make pellets for a pellet stove. And I really like that idea. The only problem is there's a lot of pieces of wood and stuff in this, you know, bigger items and stuff in here, and when you run it through to make the pellets, the stuff needs to be dry, and this is extremely wet. The logs are wet, and the you know, the sawdust is wet from running water through the sawmill and the wood being green. So I'm not sure about, you know, making pellets for a pellet stove out of this stuff. Maybe someday I will figure that all out, but for right now, this stuff is basically going to be sitting out here rotting. You know, we'll turn this over a couple times, and eventually it'll rot down to a point where it'll just be compost is all it's going to be. Now I say compost, some people use compost as a, you know, something to help fertilize their garden or use for that kind of stuff. This is just going to end up being dirt basically. Just roll it over a few times, spread it out, throw some dirt in there, mix it up, and it's just going to become part of the yard after a while. Big hunk of poison ivy. How do you like that? That came off of those cherry logs. That was another question I got was, you know, is that poison ivy on there? And if you watch the video, I tell you, yeah, it's poison ivy on there. My family, I have genes that don't usually get poison. I got poison one time in my life, and to be honest with you, I'm not even sure that it was really poison. But my family, we've cut brush, hauled logs, done all kinds of stuff my whole life, and never gotten poison. We've cut it, we've even burned it. Not a good thing. You can get sick off of that kind of stuff. I try to stay away from it as much as I can, but sumac, poison ivy, poison oak, I've been around it my whole life. And as far as I know, I only ever really got a rash one time, and it was very light, and I'm not even sure that it really was poison. But anyway, you've seen the logs I have there. You've seen the slab wood we've got. Moving on down the row, we've got cherry logs, we've got walnut logs, and we're on to the lumber stack. How do you like that stack of lumber? Now I'm 6'1", so this lumber stack is at least 10, 12 foot tall. Maybe 10, not 12, but 10 foot tall. I've got a little bit of everything here. I've got, from the bottom, I've got maple, I've got oak, I've got cherry, I've got more oak, and more maple. So that's a nice stack of lumber right there. That is one of my older stacks. I've gone through and reorganized that a little bit. I've used some of that lumber. Just about all that has been out here for long enough that it could be used right now. I had to go through and probe it and see what the moisture content is on all that, but it's getting there. It's close. It's ready to be used for projects. I've got some skids and some 4x4s here, stuff for stacking lumber. And then I believe I've shown you some pine logs. Really want to cut them down, make some structural lumber, make myself a kiln. That's coming. Stay tuned for that. And here's a pile of ash. I've showed this pile a couple times before. I actually have, there's some oak boards down the bottom. I have oak down here, and then this is all ash. And that is a beautiful ash tree. That's a tree that's actually a neighbor had the tree cut down in front of the yard and gave me a call and said, hey, cutting this tree down, would you be interested in it? Absolutely. Come down, load it up on the trailer, take it home, and here it is all cut and slabbed. I should have taken more video of that one, but that was before YouTube was really getting swinging here for me. Next I have I'm going to turn this around here a little bit. So there's the pine logs, the ash lumber. This next stack here, I have a bunch of lumber that I'm cutting for, I want to say like a customer. It's actually a friend of a friend. So all this lumber down through here, from here all the way down, is all community lumber, I want to call it, because the deal is he gave me 88 logs to cut, and half of the lumber is his and half of the lumber is mine. I still have another 20 logs to cut yet before I divide this up, but once I figure out the rest of it, get it all cut up, we're going to come out here and we're going to divide it up in half. Half is going to be mine and half is going to be his. So let me show you what we've got here. This is all ash. Okay, so that's all ash lumber. I've got another 10 logs of ash to cut. This was just one or two that was on the top of the pile that I cut up. This pile here is the money pile. This is all walnut. That whole pile, that's all walnut. You can see the nice color in there. And those are all the boards that I had stacked out from the last video that I posted, or one of the previous videos that I posted. Do my best to try to keep my lumber dry under some tin. I run out of tin, so I went and just draped some plastic over it. This is the real money pile here. This is the big money. That's the little money pile. This is the big money pile. This is all walnut. All walnut. Beautiful stuff. Real nice stack of walnut lumber. Now, this plastic is just a temporary thing. Like I said, we're going to be dividing this lumber out, so it's just to keep the rainwater off of it. I've got my stickers out here. Got to reorganize this a little bit. I've got my stickers out here underneath the roof. I'm going to keep them up there under the roof of the sawmill, but for right now, that's where I've got my stickers for now. This pile here is all white oak. Another pile of nice lumber there. This pile, next I've got all red oak. That is a really nice stack of red oak lumber. And then on the other side here, this is all cherry. So there's my cherry. I've got another 5 logs of cherry to cut yet. So I've got 5 more logs of cherry, 5 birch, and 10 ash logs to cut yet. And then I'll be able to divide all this up, figure out whose is whose, and we'll split it. That's my logs, that's my lumber, that's what I've got going so far. You look behind me, that's a pretty nice row of stuff I've got. For somebody just doing this as a hobby, I think I'm doing alright. You know, cherry, red oak, white oak, walnut, the ash. It is just unbelievable having all this nice lumber out here. You know, you suffer through trying to build projects one truckload at a time, paying a few $100s for, you know, the wood that fits between your wheel wells. Now I've got enough lumber out here that I probably could sell some of it if I wanted to. I don't think I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna keep it all for myself, be a little greedy on it, and see what kind of projects we can make with it. So stay tuned for future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.